What is fear and hunger? Content warning for the game Fear and Hunger. Spoilers ahead. What is Fear and Hunger? It is an indie fantasy RPG game that got released in 2018 on Steam, made by one person named Miro Haparinen. You can also find it on itchy.com. And as far as I can tell, it is his first major game release. The first thing you notice as you play the game is how cruel and dark it is. It is an 18+ game where the content warning should be, well, everything. You can sell children for weapons, get R-worded, you can commit suicide, you will lose your limbs, and so many more horrible things. One of the first big bad enemies you meet has their dick just hanging out, and it ain't a regular dick. Every enemy is dangerous, and it won't take much for the game to derail completely. From the early guards cutting off your limbs, rusty nails on the ground that poison you, or just the hounds in the yards that will snuggle you to death. But it isn't cruel just to be cruel, or dark just to shock you. It is trying to say something. It has themes and messages about us humans, and that is what we're going to try to unravel. Let's start with the text of Fear and Hunger. It is set in the Middle Ages in a world that mirrors our own. There is essentially a Europe, America, Africa, Asia, but with different names. One of the gods in the setting is called Almer, who is a Christ allegory, and his symbol is a cross. You are meant to draw parallels to our own history and world. I should also preface that the games have heavy inspiration from a lot of different media, like Silent Hill, Castlevania, Finland, and Berserk. A lot from Berserk. Like a lot. Legard, one of the characters that you can meet, can simply be seen as Griffith from Berserk, and it would not be a wrongful interpretation. But Miro gives his own twists on the tropes and stories that elevate the references so they are more than just mere references. You play as one of the 4 characters that come to the dungeon of Fear and Hunger, but all their goals revolve around one person, Legard, a man who is burdened with glorious destiny. You can play as Skahara, the mercenary who is here to rescue the guard, get paid, and loot the dungeon for all it's worth. His goals doesn't go further than that. You can play as Darcy, one of Legard's trusted knights who is here to rescue him, but her motivations run way deeper than Kahara. She is loyal to him, loyal to a fault, and if you have read Berserk, you can quickly figure out that she is Casca. You can play as Enki, the dark priest who has arrived to the dungeon after he got a vision when he hung himself on a cross. He thought that he had learned and seen it all, but as he was about to be sacrificed on the cross, he saw a vision of the dungeon and the fellowship, and he has come to the dungeon in the pursuit of knowledge. And at last, there is Ragnvaldr, who is here for a simple reason. He is here to get revenge for what Legard did to his home village. These are our main players on the stage. You can encounter the other characters that you didn't pick in the dungeon as you play, and you can recruit them to your party. After all, this is an RPG, but no matter who you pick, you will quickly realize how cruel the game can be. It is harsh and sometimes unfair. You will die, over and over. But hopefully you will make it to the guard, maybe you have recruited some friends along the way, and hopefully not lost too many limbs. It is here the game story splits, because you can rescue Legard and just leave the dungeon. All of that can be done under an hour. You save him, you live happily ever after, right? If only it was that simple. If you try to leave with him, he says he isn't done and he leaves you. You can leave the dungeon yourself after that, but what have you accomplished? The guard tells you he's here because of his destiny. He is here seeking power. Who is the god? As said earlier, he is a Griffith analog. He is a mercenary that warred in Rondad, and slowly his forces grew. And he had a dream of a kingdom of his own. But he was just a mercenary, just a regular soldier. There were nobles that were on his side, but there were as many that worked against him. And one day he got a visit from one of the new gods of the Fellowship, and that made him bold. For you see, in the north lay the land of Oldengard, people of warriors, traders and merchants. They are basically Vikings. And a band of them had come back from the dark continent of Winland with an artifact, the Cube of the Depths. And the god wanted it, he needed it for his dreams. So he invaded the village that had it and slaughtered everyone. And this was the final straw for the nobles that were against him. They stripped him of his rank and threw him in the dungeon. This is the reason Ragnvaldr wants him dead, and this is the reason why Darcy has come to rescue him. But why did he want the cube? He thought that the cube could grant him power. And even more than that, it could lead him to the city of the gods, Mahabre. Mahabre is the city of the gods. It's a place that you can visit in your dreams. And according to the god, it is where his destiny lies. When you rescue him, if you are fast enough, he will say that he still has business down in the dark. He wants to reach the city that the gods once ruled to claim his destiny. So you continue on in the dark with him, and you will claim the powerful artifact. Somehow it made its way down here, in a village deep underground. At this point you have probably realized that space and times break down the further down you go. How can all of this be down here? The dungeon seemed so big and massive and endless. Is all of this truly made by just humans? But you claim the cube. The same cube the god stole from Ragnvaldr's home. And with the cube, you can reach the city of the gods. But if there is a city of the gods, who are the gods then? Let's start off with the old gods. They are fundamental forces of nature. Take Sylvian, the god of creation. Their domain is over life, sex, love, and all that fun stuff. But if there is creation, there is destruction. Gorgoroth, god of destruction. They are the god of sacrifice, blood, war, death, and all that. There is also the god of the depths, the god of outcasts, of insects, and wretched soulless things. The least known about, in Fear and Hunger 1, is Rhea, the moon god, the god of trickery. It is said that Rhea is one of the last old gods that still observe mankind. And last and not least, there is Olmer, the Ascended One. Sometimes he is counted as one of the old god, but there is something fundamentally different about him. He was not born at the dawn of time. He was a regular human that was born and then ascended to godhood. He died on the cross and later was resurrected. And with his 11 apostles, he slew the sultans and kings of his time. And he brought back the prosperity and belief of the old gods. So if he could ascend into godhood, true godhood, then it can happen again. So what are the old gods? They are all concept-based. Think of them as Plato's ideas of concepts. And they don't really have bodies like we understand. They're just too big, too grand to understand. They are ideas. You can pray to them, but they are not gods that answer prayers that way. If you want Gorgoroth's attention, you sacrifice someone. If you want Sylvian's attention, you show love. Prayer to the old god is an action that you do. Belief isn't something they concern themselves about, because it won't matter if you believe in them. They are still there. You don't need to believe in creation for creation to happen, but don't make the mistake of thinking that they are not conscious. The old gods have wills of their own. Let's now turn to the other gods in the room, the new gods. They are different from the old gods in that they started off as humans. Just like Almer, they sought the city of Mahabre to claim its power. They are people who thought that they could claim the power of the gods and shepherd humanity forward into a new age. And they could. For a while. They got powerful, but not to the same extent as the old gods. None of them reached the height of Almer, and in the end, they were still humans, with all the old flaws that we humans have. You can think of them as superheroes, very powerful, but no more than that. There are 4 new gods that we meet in the game. Well, 5 to be precise, but let's keep it simple for now. There are the Fellowship who sought out Mahabre to claim the power of the old gods. The world they were born in was in peril. The empires were falling apart, the values and beliefs that humans stood for before were fading. They wanted to help the world. There is Francocius, the dominating one, Nilvian, the endless one, Valtiel, the enlightened one, and Shambara, the tormented one. They sought the city to ascend like Almer had done before. They sought the city to save humanity, to guide it, to become rulers of the world. Kinda like someone else that we have met on our journey. That was almost 600 years ago. And the world outside is still cruel and harsh. The kingdoms are still warring, plague is widespread. It seems like the Fellowship didn't change anything. But maybe it will work this time. It is while the god is here. What do they say? 3rd time's the charm? If you explore the city, you will find the hall of the new gods. And they will answer some questions if you want. And you will realize that for all the power, the new gods are powerless to change anything. All of them that are in the hall came here seeking power and to change things, to change the world. But no one could fix the fundamental problems in the world. And in time, the power faded, and their accomplishments faded, and they became forgotten. You will also find in the city the library, full of knowledge, but no real insights. You will find experiments and laboratories and absolute horrors. Some of the new gods got obsessed with the idea of creating life, because if they could do that, then they would have real power. They would have the power of creation. So they tried. They tried and tried and tried again. New gods faded and new gods came and tried again. And they succeeded. To a point. They managed to create bodies. But never with a soul. With all their power, all they could make were soulless husks. Creation is still out of their grasp. This was Valtiel's pursuit, just like the owners of the library before him. It seems like nothing has changed since all were ascended. But how do you become a new god? In the city there is a throne of gold. Sit on it and you will ascend to godhood. And it is what the god will do if you bring him there. If he is just ignorant about the truth, or if he truly believes that he can make true changes, is unknown. He sits on the throne and vanishes. You could leave the dungeon now, but you can't. You have to know, so you follow him. You sit on the throne and you arrive at the void. The void is a harsh place. It is grey rock and green hue. But you are not alone here. Monsters roam the land, primordial things. You do find ruins, remnants of some kind of structures. Someone, something, built things here long ago. But you didn't come here for archaeological studies. You came here to learn about the gods, and it is here you will find the god after gathering your party. But there is something that stands out. If you play on the terror and starvation mode, you will find Sylvian here, and you can fight them. The void is the green hue where the old gods came from. These are primordial cosmic powers. But if this is the void where the old gods live, where are the others? Where is Grogoroth? Where is the Deep One? Where are the old gods? And was that truly Sylvian at the height of their power? Nevertheless, you do find the god who has changed in the void. He has become the Yellow King, and you can kneel to him or fight him. If you fight him and win, you leave the void, and you will be burdened with knowledge for the rest of your life, and humanity will still be stuck where it is. If you join him, you leave the void, and later in your life the Yellow King will emerge and unite the Western world, and it seems like humanity will finally move forward. All is well, right? We will come back to this. But you can also come to the void without the god. You can ascend into a new god. It doesn't end well. No matter what you do as a new god, you won't move humanity forward. You can either strangle progress in its grip and drive humanity back into the Iron Age, or you can become an obscure cult with no real power to change the world. You too will in the end join the Hall of the New Gods for all eternity, accomplishing nothing. So why can't the new gods change anything? Why can't it become better? Because that is not what the Golden Throne is for. It's a trap. It's a trap made by the old gods to trap humanity, to endlessly chase power, to always run around in a rut, to never progress. The city holds knowledge but no insights into how to change the world. The city is a cage. This is where the fifth new god comes in, Nashra. You can meet him in the flesh pit. If you are unprepared, you will die. But if you meet him with the Eclipse Talisman and the Cube of the Dead, he will join you. If you can convince him, that is. And he is a full-on new god. Can't die in combat. He can't cast some of the most powerful spells in the game. He is a beast, and he will let you know that. Nashra was once called the Doom of Men. He was a new god before the Fellowship, and he held a library for Vatian It is implied that some of the monsters that you found in the library were his. He is the final nail in the coffin that tells you that the road laid out by the old god is a dead end cage. He tried to ascend to higher powers, just like the Fellowship, but he realized that the true nature of the throne and decided to fuck off and do his own thing. He will call a god a stupid idiot if you have him in your party, as the god sits on the throne. You can bring him into the hall of the new gods, and he will just kill some of them because they piss him off. Nashra is great. So what is Fear and Hunger trying to say with what we know so far? Life is cruel. There is something Buddhist in the message of Fear and Hunger. You will suffer from the moment you start to the end. You will always be hungry. You will always get hurt, either mentally, emotionally, or physically. And as a human, you will be hungry, thirsty, tired, sad, angry, hot, cold, uncomfortable. There seems to be some background cruelty in the world. There are people that are trying to change it though, but they fail to see the bigger picture. We are all trapped in a system, a cage built for us, by forces beyond our control and understanding. The people that are trying to change the world or save it fail to see the bigger picture. That you can't change the system from the insides. These are traps laid out by the higher powers that built the cage. You can go and vote and maybe get a new party in power, but in the end you still live in a capitalist hellhole. It is not something you can change by voting away the problem. In Fear and Hunger, humans are trapped in a world made by forces beyond their understanding. They are in a cage. Some humans try to flee the cage, but they fail to understand the nature of the cage. And yet, we humans persevere. We go on. We set ourselves a goal, and we go for it, even if it's a fool's goal ultimately. And there is beauty in that human spirit to go forward, even though the environment will collapse and we will all be crushed by the capitalist machine. We go on into the unknown horrors. We go forward. But if that is all Fear and Hunger had to say, I don't think it would resonate with people as much. There is something we are still missing. We have skipped the most important person in the game, the girl. In the early game, you can find a girl in a cage. It is implied that she was born in the dark, never knowing kindness nor light. She is a child of the dark. She does not speak to you, but she will follow you if you let her. She has that same human spirit after all. And she is pretty useless in combat. She is a child after all. You can give her a dagger to make her do some damage, but it will never be much. You can teach her magic and she can become then your party's healer or big magic damage dealer. But that costs mind, and to replenish it either by expensive elixirs of the mind or you drink alcohol, smoke opium. So to make the girl a good magic user, you either need to give her whiskey or opium. As I said, the game is dark. So why do you bring her with you? Why bring a small defenseless child into the horrors of the dungeon? Because this girl is the most important human in the dungeon. The god is not the only one burdened with a glorious destiny. This girl is a child of one of the new gods, Nilvian, and the god. If you found Nilvian and the child is with you, she will tell you that the child is important. She begs you to bring her to the true darkness of the world, to the very bottom. The furthest down that you can get is to the body of the god of the depths. It's a giant yellow mouth and it is closed. And to reach the bottom, you need to get inside. To get inside, you need to traverse all the corners of the dungeon and cut its hearts open. And with it, you damage the god enough for its mouth to open. You don't kill it, I think. It's an old god after all. And at this point, with some limb loss, your mind slipping, you climb into the mouth of an old god. And you reach the gauntlet, one of the cruelest places in the game. You will die here, and you will try again. For that is what you do. You struggle and persevere. And at last you reach it, the bottom, the true dark. And something happens to the girl. She transforms, and it is horrible. The sounds and sights are tormenting. But from her, the smallest of them all, the one that has been a burden for so long, has transformed into something new, truly new. She has become the god of fear and hunger. She has ascended like Almer did. You fight her, but you can't really hurt her. She is now beyond comprehension. In the end, you lose and die. I don't think she meant to kill you. It was an accident, like a giant stepping on ants. She is something new in the world, a true god that can rival the old ones. But just like the old gods, she is not kind. She heralds in what the game calls the cruel age, just like Almer did all those years ago. The god of fear and hunger will move humanity forward. The Industrial Revolution has come to the world. You have found a way to change the world. For better or for worse, who knows? But why did the girl succeed where the new gods didn't? Because the new gods only used the tools they were given, only the tools they were told to use. The girl, on the other hand, is born from special circumstances. She is not playing by the rules and tools laid out from the powers that be. She is something new in the world, just like Almer. I know that it's not much of a satisfactory answer. That is because the sequel explored these questions much more. For all their power and glory, the new gods could not change the world, but a little girl could. No matter how small or weak you think you are, you matter. No matter how cruel the world is, you are important. You can be an instrument for change and kindness in a dark, cruel world. Change is possible, but it is hard. The world can change, but it is a long and hard process, and you might not live to see it. But the rules of the world are just that, rules. Rules can be broken. Change is possible. But there is one more revelation that can be found. If you reach the bottom of the gauntlet without the girl, you will find something extraordinary. The traces of Grogoroth. And if you read it, it will tell you the truth. The old gods are gone. Sylvian that you fought in the void, it was the traces of them. Same with the gods of the dead. It is just traces that are left. Same with Grogoroth that you are speaking to. They left because humans were so weird to them. They left because all humans have different concepts of creation and destruction. And they could not handle that. They wanted one simple version, one simple concept. And we humans could not provide that. After all, we could never love Sylvian the same way she loved us. I find that adds a little extra dark despair. You learn about the new gods, how they are trapped, but the ones that set all of this in motion, long gone, and they are not coming back. Humans are all alone. But isn't that fascinating? The old gods are powerful beyond comprehension. They are fundamental forces, and yet we made them leave. We made them change. Us, humans. We have the power to change this. And what this truly implies, where this idea will lead, is explored in the sequel, Terminal. Thank you for listening.